One of the things I love about the Business Summit is the voices we get to hear from and the people in community doing work every day that we don't always get to see and hear and talk to, but are doing amazing things every day. So I want to thank Monica for coming up and giving that talk was amazing, and it helps bridge us to really the second half of our day. So thank you again to Monica for that. Let's give her another round of applause, please. All right, so now I'd like to introduce Rosanne Haggarty. She is the president and CEO of Community Solutions, who will be joining us virtually today. Rosanne brings us more than 2 decades of experience and expertise in developing accessible housing and finding system solutions to homelessness. The many accolades for her work include the MacArthur Foundation Fellowship, Jane Jacobs Medal for New Ideas and Activism, and the Schwab Foundation Social Entrepreneur of the Year. Welcome, Rosanne.
Well, hello, I'm delighted to join you at this year's summit, especially as you're focusing on homelessness. Now, our community solutions, data analysts, and quality improvement coaches are working with local teams and communities throughout Oregon. Communities that are committed to making homelessness rare overall and brief when it occurs. That's an end state we call functional zero. And these Oregon communities are part of Built for Zero, which is a national movement that we support of over 100 communities, now 105, who are working toward this end state to solve homelessness at the population level. Now, the community measure is usually a county or a region, and my goal today is to leave you hopeful and with a clear-eyed sense of the rigorous, disciplined work to be done to reach functional zero homelessness in Oregon communities. And so let me begin with the evidence. All right. Oops. So we're working with 105 communities, but let me point out that 14 of those have now reached functional zero chronic and/or veteran homelessness. Another 42 have achieved measurable reductions in homelessness. And the key to this progress is this number 64. That means 64 communities have reached a standard we call quality data. They know by name and in real time all those experiencing homelessness across their community. And what Built for Zero represents and is captured in this focus on data is a new way of understanding and responding to homelessness as the dynamic, complex, shifting challenge it is, a challenge more like COVID or coping with a natural disaster than a static problem where we just add up different programs and solutions. Now, our journey as an organization at Community Solutions mirrors that journey that communities throughout the country tend to go through. And for years, we too focused on simply building affordable and supportive housing and on expanding essential support services for those experiencing homelessness. Yet there was no apparent impact on the numbers of those living on the streets of our community. So we began asking the individuals that we were passing on the streets about their efforts to find housing, and we quickly learned that they were faced with this: an overwhelming array of government and not-for-profit agencies and programs, each with their own missions, eligibility criteria and rules, funder requirements, and each operating largely independently of each other and inadvertently creating an impenetrable maze that the most vulnerable among us had almost no hope of navigating. Now, make no mistake, there is no ending homelessness without investing in far more affordable and supportive housing and essential services for those who need them. But communities, we learned, also need an operating system able to align and integrate all of the activities and investments behind the single thing that we all most want, which is fewer of our neighbors experiencing homelessness. And so this is the question that Built for Zero poses and helps communities to answer. Are all of our programs and investments adding up to the thing we really want, which are equitable reductions in homelessness over time? And how would we learn quickly and pivot effectively if we're not getting the outcomes we want? Well, first, we've uncovered, and I'll lead you through this, 5 things that communities need to have in place to reduce homelessness and move toward functional zero. Let's begin with the key organizations. That they need to be all aligned behind a shared aim. In the world of homelessness, that means the local continuum of care, which is the coalition of not-for-profits that receive HUD funding for homeless services in a given region, plus the county, plus the major city or cities in that area, plus the housing authority, and all of those groups must commit to the shared aim of ending homelessness across their whole geography. We advise communities to start with one defined population, generally veterans or those experiencing chronic homelessness, so that they can learn how to work in a new way, and then to expand to other groups. To reach functional zero veterans, for example, you also need other partners, the local VA medical center, for example, in that case. And to get to functional zero for youth or families who are experiencing homelessness, you need other agencies who are working with those populations. But the idea is the same, everyone around the same table, working toward the same end and measuring progress in the same way. Second, that group needs to operate as a single, nimble system, a single quality improvement team. Think of how an emergency command center operates, for example, during a wildfire or public health emergency. This is a form of collaboration that is very active. It's a collaboration in practice, not in theory. And it must extend from organizational leadership down to frontline staff. Now, third, the communities that are making this kind of progress have led the way in creating shared quality data, meaning comprehensive, accurate information on everyone experiencing homelessness across that geography, updated in close to real time, at least monthly. Now, this is data that's privacy protected, like a HIPAA release, and it's formally released by those individuals who are sharing their data in order to facilitate their securing housing. And the team organizes this as a collective common good to combine their resources to help move individuals and families ever more quickly toward a housing solution. And the mechanism that we've co-created with communities across Built for Zero is a scorecard that enables each community to rate the comprehensiveness and reliability and the timeliness of their data and their data policies. Now, this is a major undertaking, particularly in large cities, but I'd like to shout out Multnomah County with the highest rate of homelessness in the state, which is making impressive progress toward quality data on all of those individuals, all of the single individuals experiencing homelessness across the county. So it's possible to do this. It's hard, but it's possible. And it's the grounding for getting your arms around the problem, in part for the first time. This information allows a community to see the overall inflow and dynamic pattern of homelessness. For the first time, communities can really see where to intervene to drive significant reductions in homelessness, where to direct prevention efforts, where to invest in the kinds of housing and types of housing, typologies of housing that are going to make the biggest difference at that time for the largest number of individuals experiencing homelessness. That kind of targeted intervention will allow, in the feedback loop here, will allow communities to see what policies and practices are working, which need to be improved or discarded, and to achieve ultimately successful outcomes for individuals or families experiencing homelessness, and to equitably reduce homelessness overall. This kind of very comprehensive data is essential to taking bias out of the system, to really building racially equitable systems and knowing where these gaps are occurring. And so data, as we're finding, is the key to really reframing homelessness as a solvable public health-like program that communities can create an integrated command center type response to. Now, fourth, we find that communities need some measure of flexible resources that they can apply to the problems that are blocking progress in real time, not to be dependent on fixed program grants or kind of rigid eligibility criteria. Some modicum of resource is needed to solve actual problems as they appear in a community's data to keep moving the system forward toward that functional zero goal. And fifth, we don't think any community should be out there innovating alone and reinventing the wheel. So that's why Built for Zero has become a powerful learning network where communities can be in active exchange over ideas and problems that they're encountering that are very similar to those faced by other communities. There's always a critical local adaptation and adjustment, but many of the problems that any community faces are communities that other communities have faced, and that kind of learning transfer can accelerate everyone's progress. What this also allows in this kind of new frame of homelessness as a systems problem that can be understood differently through data that can drive and support collaboration and the integration of responses, is that you can begin to see this as a problem that can be solved with a population level view. And in fact, that kind of specificity, the individual information leading up to the overall pattern in a community, actually helps both proceed. Better and faster allocation of support for individuals and families, and also a community-wide progress measure. So you're seeing the kind of impact that investments and that collaborative work can achieve at the population level, as well as for individuals and individual programs. I'll tell you a bit now about how community solutions support communities in Oregon and throughout the country. Our team provides the framework, the data tools, the data coaches, quality improvement coaches, because we find quality improvement is a very powerful way of system building, of taking a look at the data, forming a hypothesis, testing it in 30 or 60 or 90-day cycles, and then improving from there. We provide the learning network that I mentioned, and the opportunity throughout the year for communities to be in regular touch with each other, other communities that are at similar stages on the journey or encountering problems that have been approached and solved or at least advanced in other communities. And we also have a policy and communication staff working with community teams to tell a different story, a more accurate story, frankly, about homelessness, that it's an urgent public health and racial equity challenge that can be solved if approached with collaboration at every level, with the rigor and commitment to staying the course until the job is done. So, to review again, these 5 parts of a community system, an operating system designed to end homelessness, not simply to respond to a crisis, is what we're seeing moves the needle. It takes a while. These problems didn't occur overnight. But with this kind of system to guide a community's efforts and investment, this is where we're seeing progress. And it makes sense. This is basically a model borrowed from public health. It's been borrowed from manufacturing. And so you can trust that this offers real promise for a daunting issue, but one that we are certainly seeing is solvable with this kind of commitment and discipline. And in fact, we've come to see homelessness in our team and throughout the communities with whom we work as an iconic issue for our time, a visible life and death situation that is above all a challenge to our capacity to come together to solve hard problems. Can Oregon align its local, regional, and statewide efforts on homelessness? I think so. And I'm grateful to the Business Council that you've taken up this urgent question this year. Thank you.